Thank you, Grant. That is still one of my favorite songs. And I wish every one of you could be up front when someone like Grant or any of our other song leaders leads the songs like that and just see these children's eyes light up. You might feel ashamed of yourself because, like I do, not enjoying the way maybe we should really enjoy worshiping God. They understand, they know. We may ruin them. We may destroy it. The world may try to take that joy away from them. But it's such a blessing to see these children as they love to sing those songs. They love to worship God. Thank you for being here this evening. Gary has already alluded to the fact that we have several who are missing, and it's always wonderful to look up and see visitors who are here and kind of taking the places of some of ours who are visiting around this evening and getting over these holidays, and we'll all have to go back to work tomorrow, and we just might as well make our minds up and get ready because it's coming. But appreciate you being here and invite you to be back with us any and every opportunity that you might have. We will look at Job 15 and 16 this evening. Get through these as quickly as we can, not too many passages. I think there's about 57 or so. And I'm trying to do this expositorily, so it simply means we're trying to stay in the text, and I'm not preaching a bunch of topical lessons along with every word that I see as you could do. But we're trying to do this as a study and help our young folks as they're studying. I will be reading from the New King James Version. Tonight we're going to look. This starts the second go-round, you might say, in relationship to Eliphaz, Zophar, and Bildad, the three friends of Job. They have each already spoken to Job once and basically said, Job, you've sinned, and that's why God's punishing you. And Job has answered every one of their arguments. He knows that their argument is incorrect. He knows he hasn't translated or violated God's laws. Now, the thing he doesn't understand is, seeing that I haven't done that, why are these things transpiring? Why are these things taking place? How difficult a lesson is that for us to learn even today? Let a tragedy strike a family, and how many of us will almost lose our faith over it? And how many times will you hear some individual say, why has God done this? Well, that's what Job would not do. If you're going to study the book of Job, you have to understand it in relationship to verses 21 and 22 of chapter 1. Naked I came from my mother's womb, naked shall I return thither. The Lord gave, the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. In all this Job did not sin nor charge God foolishly. Now, with all that said, when tragedies strike, does the Christian have the right to be sad? Listen to me. Absolutely. Why? Well, like I said, I'm not going to preach other sermons in relationship to this. I'm kind of just throwing some background out here. Why do Christians have the right to not understand? It's very simple. We don't know all the answers. And when we don't know all the answers, there's one answer I know. I know that it is not God who is vindictive, mean, hateful, unloving, and He is picking on me. Now, I can prove every statement that I just said from God's inspired word to be wrong. God is love. Now, what 1 John says? Did God say He would be with His children until we pass from this walk of life? Absolutely. Look at Matthew chapter 28, verses 18 through 20. Does God hear our prayers? Absolutely. John chapter 9, verse 31. Well, why then do these things happen? And that's the book of Job. Now, this is Eliphaz. This is his second time to speak in chapter 15. And then we will see Job as he starts in 16 to answer these statements again. Verse 1, then Eliphaz the Temanite answered and said, should a wise man answer with empty knowledge? Now, notice how he is going to go immediately on the attack toward Job. He says, tongue in cheek, you were wise, but now you've lost your knowledge. It's empty knowledge. And fill himself with the east wind. You ever had anybody say you're full of hot air? That's what he's saying. You're just full of hot air. Should he reason with unprofitable talk? What good does it do for us to talk about? And you ladies, close your ears just one second. I've said this before. I don't do real good in speculation. Women folks do. They can speculate, why in the world did she wear that red dress instead of that green dress? My question is, who cares? It's her dress. If she wants to wear the red one, the green one, if we're not careful, we can get filled up with circle reasoning, a catch-22. Should he reason with unprofitable talk? There's no substance to what he's saying. Or by speech with which he can do no good? Yes, you cast off fear and restrain prayer before God. For your iniquity teaches your mouth. Now he's trying to teach Job something. Here's your iniquities are causing all these things. Of course, that's the entire argument. That's what it's been the whole time. And you choose the tongue of the crafty. Your own mouth condemns you and not I. Yes, your own lips testify against you. Are you the first man who was born? Now he's going to go into this argument in regards to man and suffering and why. Were you the first man to be born? Or were you made before the hills? Have you heard the counsel of God? Do you limit wisdom to yourself? In other words, we talked about partial truth this morning, limiting the truth, limiting wisdom. That's what a lot of folks do. You ever been accused of seeing what you want to see? Any of you guys who are married, has your wife ever said you hear what you want to hear? Yes, I say I'm not the only one that hears that. If Paul was here tonight, I could say not only do your eyesight go at 60, but your hearing does as well. So now we can't see nor hear. So we're in trouble. We're limited. And that's what he's asking Job. You've limited yourself to knowledge. What do you know that we do not know? What do you understand that is not in us all? Both gray-haired and the aged are among us, much older than your father. Are the consolations of God too small for you and the word spoken gently with you? Why does your heart carry you away? And what do your eyes wink at? If we're not careful, we have a tendency to wink at sin, do we not? We allow some things to go on and other things we make a great deal about it. This country is infamous in regards to that. You want to get in trouble, use some of the catchphrases that's politically incorrect. Oh, me. But yet, if you point out the truth in regards to something that's equally bad, oh, that's not bad. What do you mean? Well, we choose and pick. We wink at what we call sin, and then other times we allow it to go on. And you turn your spirit against God and let such words go out of your mouth. What is man, that he could be pure? And he who is born of a woman, that he could be righteous? If God puts no trust in his saints and the heavens are not pure in his sight, How much less man who is abominable and filthy, who drinks iniquity like waters? I'll tell you, hear me. What I have seen, I will declare. What wise men have told, not hiding anything received from their fathers, to whom alone the land was given, and no alien passed among them. Alien passed among them. The wicked man rise with pain all his days, and the numbers of the years hidden from the oppressor. Dreadful sounds are in his ears, and prosperity to the store comes upon him. He does not believe that he will return from darkness, for a sword is waiting for him. He wanders about for bread, saying, where is it? He knows that a day of darkness is ready at his hand. Trouble and anguish make him afraid. They overpower him like a king ready for battle. For he stretches out his hand against God and acts defiantly against the Almighty, running stubbornly against him with his strong embossed shield. Though he has covered his face with his fatness and made his waist heavy with fat, he dwells in desolated cities and houses which no one inhabits, which are destined to become ruins. He will not be rich, nor will his wealth continue, nor will his possessions overspread the earth. He will not depart from darkness. The flames will dry out his branches, and by the breath of his mouth he will go away. Let him not trust in futile things, deceiving himself, for futility will be his reward. It will be accomplished before his time, and his branch will not be green. He will shake off his unripe grape like a vine, and cast off his blossom like an olive tree. For the company of the hypocrite will be barren, and the fire will consume the tents of the bribery. They conceive trouble and bring forth futility. Their womb prepares deceit. Now here's his argument. Here's what he's saying in regards to all of these things. Now, keep in mind that all three of these friends are going to sprinkle reality and truth in regards among to their statements. But sprinkling the truth in there does not make it necessarily all the truth. The conclusions that they're drawing a lot of times are incorrect. To draw the conclusion that men are not righteous in and of themselves, that's right. We're not righteous in and of ourselves. Where would we be without God? Look at Titus 2:11-12. For the grace of God that brings salvation. If it wasn't for God, where would we be? But then right on the other hand, it's incorrect to look at this and look at the things that are taking place and to have developed and swallowed the thinking of Judaism, which said you are being punished because of your sins. It just doesn't make sense. And that's why Job is having such a difficult time in trying to understand these arguments. He knows they're wrong, but he's still left kind of empty in relationship to God. Even though he knows he hasn't sinned against God, he also knows he's dealing with some difficult times. So why? If you don't learn anything else from me from the book of Job, learn that it's okay to ask why. It's wrong to draw the wrong conclusion from why. Why have these things befallen me? Because God does not love me. Wrong answer. I may not be able to tell you what the right answer is, but I know that's a wrong answer because you can prove that from God's inspired word. It always makes me think of the illustration about the woman crossing the parking lot and somebody says, well, that looks like your wife. No, that's not Cindy. That's not my wife. Well, who is it? I don't know. How many billions of people are there in the world? I don't know every woman in the world, but I know one thing, that's not my wife. Well, Job is stuck in that dilemma. He knows God has not forsaken him. He knows God is not punishing him because he's done wrong. Well, why am I being punished? I don't know. Now, you turn to chapter 16 and listen what he says. Then Job answered and said, I've heard many such things. You know what he's saying? All three of y'all have done told me this time and time again. This is all I'm hearing. You've not said anything new. You didn't convince me the first time, and you're not convincing me the second time. Miserable comforters, you all. Eliphaz, Bildad, Zophar, you are miserable comforters. I'm not gaining any value from what you're saying. And there's a lot of truth in that too. I have visited many people that I love at funeral homes and hugged their necks and said goodbye to folks that I love dearly. But I can't tell that person why. You know, I can't tell them why they passed away. I can't tell them why this disease took their loved one. I don't have those answers. But the important thing is, in regards to miserable comforters, if you go there and you offer the explanation, well, it's God doesn't love you, you're a miserable comforter. If you go there and keep your mouth closed and just hug their neck and just hold on to them, you're a wonderful comforter. Now, figure that out. I think it's simple. One's a wrong answer. The other is just simply stating through physical contact, no words whatsoever, I love you, I'm here for you, I'll help you any way that I can. That's why a lot of times, don't say a word. Just hug somebody's neck. Let them put the conclusion there that they want to put there. Shall words of wind have an end? And that's the words of wind that he's talking about. This is Eliphaz. Again, comparing these words to hot, dry wind or whatever wind that's blowing. Or what provokes you that you answer? I also could speak as you do. If your souls were in my soul's place, I could heap up words against you and shake my head at you. I could do the same thing you're doing with the same results. That's what he's saying. But I would strengthen you with my mouth, and the comfort of my lips would relieve your grief. Job says, I hope that what I would say would be having a different effect. Not the effect that you're having on me. Though I speak, my grief is not relieved. Now, if you want to know what chapter 16 is talking about, circle two words. My grief. My grief. With that said, let's read the chapter. Verse 6 beginning, though I speak, my grief is not relieved. And if I remain silent, how am I eased? But now he has worn me out. H-E applies to what or who? My grief. Now, translate this in relationship to Job chapter 1, 21 and 22. Did Job charge God foolishly? The Bible says he didn't. So he's not talking about God when he says, and now he has worn me out. And you, who's the you? Have made desolate all my company. You have shriveled me up. And it, who's the it? It is my witness against me. And what it is? My grief. Here's what I'm living with. Here's what you see about me. Here's what's causing me so much hurt and so much pain. My leanness rises up against me and bears witness to myself. To my face. He tears me with his wrath, and he hates me and hates me. Well, that's not God. It can't be God. 1 John 4 verses 7 and 8 says God is love. God is not up there just tearing me into shreds because of his wrath, and he hates me. He gnashes at me with his teeth. My adversary sharpens his gaze on me. They gape at me with their mouths, and they strike me reproachfully on the cheek. They gather together against me. God has delivered me to the ungodly and turned me over to the hands of the wicked. Now he makes a statement in relationship to God. How's he making this statement, though? I believe it's a statement of lack of understanding. It cannot be a statement where he's accusing God falsely, because it would violate chapter 1, 21 and 22. Verse 12, I was at ease, but he shattered me. He's also taken me by the neck and shaken me to pieces. Now I think he's going back to talking about the subject of the chapter, my grief. I wonder in verse 11, is he asking, has God allowed my grief to do these things? Job does not understand. Job is seeking answers. Job is asking what? Why? Why are these things happening? He set me up as his target. His archer surrounded me. He's pierced my heart and does not pity. He pours out my gall on the ground. He breaks me with wounds upon wound. He runs me like a warrior. I have sewn sackcloth over my skin and laid my head in the dust. My face is flushed from weeping, and on my eyelids is the shadow of death. Although no violence is in my hand, and my prayer is pure. O earth, do not cover my blood, and let my cry have no resting place. Surely, even now my witness is in heaven, and my evidence is on high. My friends scorn me. My eyes pour out tears to God. Now, this reference, I believe, is to God, in regards to the fact that Job says, my heart has remained pure. I'm continuing to pray, but I still don't understand. And one that might plead for a man with God as a man pleads for his neighbor. For when a few years are finished, I shall go the way of no return. I can't help but wonder if Job was wondering, am I going to go to the grave without ever receiving an answer? Understanding why these things are taking place in my life. You know what, friends? Quite honestly, you and I may go to the grave and never understand these things. But if you were here this morning, you heard me preach on a subject, which is obey God regardless. I know in difficult times it's hard for us to lay everything aside and say, I'm going to put my hope, my trust, my life, my future in God. But if we're going to be his children, that's what we've got to do. If we're going to be the child that loves him, that obeys him, regardless of the circumstances of life, and if you think circumstances of life is what's going to determine whether or not you're happy, you need to read the book of Philippians, 4 short chapters. It's not positions, it's not possessions, it's not power, that is going to make you happy. Ecclesiastes 12:13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep His commandments. The book of Job. Job is an example of one who, even though things were not going right in his life, he obeyed God regardless. What about you tonight? If you're here and never been obedient to the gospel of Jesus Christ, you can, through your faith, repentance, confession, and baptism, become a child of God this evening. If you've done these things but yet you've fallen short, you need to come back to the God who loves you and wants you to be saved. Won't you come as together we stand and sing?